So this is the table for the Battle of Astley that we are about to fight. This is Astley itself, a small village comprising 3 buildings near the river crossing. Behind the village here there is a light wood, there's some hedging, and there's a hill in the corner on which sits Astley Farm. In the other corner over there is a wood. The river runs straight down the middle of the board, and the Germans will occupy that side, the south side of the river. The British will attack from here, small valley, coming through past Two Tree Hill, which is a double elevation hill. That's the effect of the hill, so we get some cover. They will come down the road, and clearly this junction here is going to be critical because it leads to the bridge. There are no other crossings for the river. The British also have other forces which could arrive from this road. Again, they have the benefit of a low hill. As they go over that hill, they have the river and they can see the village, and they may be able to get some flanking fire on the village. There is some cover here from trees, but at some point there is going to have to be a storming of that bridge. And then here is the village. No doubt the Germans will be occupying these buildings, which have a good view of the approach road. And here is the British force that is going to be doing the attacking. We start with the CO. The 2 company elements, the anti-tank rifle and the mortar, are going to be distributed amongst the 3 platoons of his company. There they are, and they are lorried. So they are numbered 2, 3 and 4. Number 5 is the reconnaissance company. This is a Humber and a Morris CS9. Then we've got in reserve, we've got another company. Get that into focus for you. Again, 3 platoons, again lorried. So the company travels in 3 lorries with 1 small truck for the company headquarters. We have a pair of Vickers, number 10. 11 is the carrier platoon, 3 carriers, standard platoon. 12 is a mortar platoon, which will act as a unit. So if I can focus in, you'll see that I've got a pair of 3-inch mortars with a carrier, and then 13 and 14 with the ability to act independently are a pair of towed 2-pounder anti-tank guns. So that's the entire British force. It won't all be on the table at the outset, but that is what the British have to attack with. And these are the German defenders. So we start with the CO. He's Kübelwagen, there he is. The Germans have an infantry company, standard formation, and they have a 2-inch mortar and an anti-tank rifle, as you would expect. They also have at the back there the battalion infantry gun. This is the IG 75mm there. They have a mortar platoon, a 3-inch mortar with riflemen. Now they have some engineers, lorried. They have a 37mm anti-tank gun, which is there. And then they have 4 figures, get this into focus for you, 4 figures with a medium machine gun. And I've set them up here either dismounted or mounted, but there are only 4 figures in that section. And finally, an SDKFZ 222. I'm struggling to get into focus for you. There it is. So that's the German defenders. Again, not all on the table to start with, some held in reserve, but that is what they can call on. So here's the situation at the end of the first bound. The British group has come on. You can see the recce group leading, and then the infantry with the CO second in line. Everything numbered, of course. They have spotted, but can't do anything about, the 75mm gun in Astley farm, and the 75mm gun has spotted them, but did so on an order dice of 1, which of course is a fire, so it's carried out its act, but it can't then subsequently fire. The other units haven't done anything, so that's the end of bound 1. So the start of the second bound, and the British have moved forward another 22 inches. The CO has taken the leadership test and has passed to dissolve the group, so they can now work independently from the next bound onwards. But in the meantime, the 2 recce units are trying to spot the anti-tank gun, which is situated behind the cottage there. That's 3 segments. We've got 4 looking at 4, so 4 4s are 16, round it up, 2d6, 3 segments less 1 because we are recce, so we need to get 2s on 2d6, and he throws snake eyes. So he's carried out his act and he has failed to spot the anti-tank gun. Well, bound 2 warmed up a bit because the 37mm appeared on the table, correctly observed the approaching British armoured cars, had a shot but missed, which is rather irritating. And the only other action was that the German CO has jumped in his Kubelwagen, taken up a better position in the rocks there so he can direct what's going on. And because of the British move now into this position, they are out of sight of the 75mm infantry gun. So that was unable to move. So it's really going to warm up in the next bound, which is the 3rd bound of the game, the 11th bound of the day. Bearing in mind we started on bound 9. And this is where the British will break up from their group, and chances are that they will carry out their full frontal attack as promised, perhaps with infantry, and they will keep an infantry unit at the back here with the CO. So it's about to warm up. The German on the last bound failed to get any reserves. Let's try him again. He needs to throw a 5+. he's thrown a 4. So still no reserves for the Germans. And this is a fabulous start for the Germans, because the anti-tank gun has drawn card number 1. Although the British have got some pretty low numbers amongst the armour, this number 1 will give the Germans a serious advantage. And what does he do? He throws a 2 on his officer reaction test, so decides to take no action this turn. Oh dear. Well, bound 3 turned out to be something of a disappointment. The British CO has taken cover, and the armoured cars have moved up to either side of the bridge. But the anti-tank gun decided to take no action. Neither did the engineers. Neither, strangely enough, did the British infantry, still stuck here. And the only other action was that the 75mm gun managed to spot the armoured cars, but as it threw an order dice of 1 for a fire, having spotted, obviously then it can't fire. So we're left in this position where the armoured cars have moved up, the engineers taking no action at all, could have had a shot at the armoured cars but didn't, and the British really need to sort themselves out here and get themselves going. So we go on to bound 4. And things start well for the Germans. They throw for reserves and they get an 81mm mortar team. Well, bound 4, which is really the 12th bound of the day, has really centred around the engineers. We've had a number of missed shots, but more importantly, what's happened here is that the British infantry have debussed from their lorry. They've moved up on their frontal assault, and with rifles, light machine gun and the 2-inch mortar that's with them, they've inflicted 3 casualties on the engineers. So action has started. The other difference is that the German mortar team has come on and has just for the minute, you can see it's facing backwards, that means it's not deployed. It's come onto the table there. What it's going to try to do is to take up a position perhaps here, so that it can get some shots away at the British force here. Now we're going to finish the bound. The very last element to move is the German anti-tank gun, which has taken some flak from the British armour and needs to throw 10 continuous momentum tests. Now they do have a regular CO which gives them a 10% reduction, so they're down to 9 tests. So let's throw these 9 tests for them. And what they don't want are any 1s. And they don't get any, so that's good. Now it all gets spectacular. The AT gun fires and gets a hit on the Morris and causes damage. An attack value of 8 on flimsy armour. They needed to throw a D10, 9 for damage, 11 for destroy. They only threw a 1, so they got a damage. So the CS9 has really dodged one there, and hopefully he can get an early number, and that anti-tank gun is going to have to be taken out. So bound 13 saw a lot of action around the bridge as the British infantry piled out of one of their lorries and took up a position close to the bank, but not close enough to get any cover from that hedge. But they did manage to drive the engineers out of that building with combined fire, and the engineers are now retreating as a result of failed continuous momentum scores. The infantry that was supporting the Morris decided to make a double move to get over the bridge and into one of these buildings, preferably this one. Declared a double move and then threw 3 6s on 3d6 to get a 36-inch move. They could have actually done it with a standard 3d6 move and then had an opportunity to fire, but that was what they declared. That's what happened. So we've now got British infantry in that building there. The German mortar crew still haven't deployed, but they've got themselves to there. And we're waiting to see what comes on in terms of reserves. The other development from the British CO's point of view is that he has moved a platoon here. And there's a suggestion that they're going to try to get to the river here and provide some covering fire across there for whatever else appears. We do of course have the prospect of British reserves coming on, which means that we could make an advance here, take up a position in this field and cover this side of the village as well, driving the Germans off the table. The other big development, because of the fact that the continuous momentum score for the German army has gone down because of the fading of the score of the engineers, the German CO, his strategic milestone test was taken and he's now strategic condition amber, so he's in a difficult place. If he has another test to take, and that's likely if they take more casualties, if they have another test to take and he fails that, they are red and the day is lost. So we go into bound 14 with that in mind. So bound 14 comes to an end with a number of developments. The British have now moved their infantry into both of these buildings on the far side of the river, and the armour has moved over the river as well. So they now have a foothold. The chances are that they will simply reinforce the position around the bridge. The pesky anti-tank gun is still there, but not shooting very well. The infantry gun in the corner has taken a pot shot at the bridge and has reduced the bridge value from 4 points down to 2, and if it hits again and gets another 2 points, then that bridge will be destroyed, which means that the armour won't be able to get over it. So the British might want to do something about that infantry gun. We do have another infantry platoon moving up here, which is going to take the place of the platoon that was situated there to cover the bridge. And the British welcome the arrival of some armour. A pair of Vickers have turned up to reinforce their position. For the Germans, the big advantage they have now is that the mortar platoon has finally got itself organised, set itself up there with a good range of vision of what's happening here. So the British can expect on their approach to the bridge a bit of attention from that German mortar team. And right at the start of the next bound, the Vickers race up towards the bridge, open fire on the anti-tank gun, which has been wiped out. And that means that the German CO, who is in this bit of cover back here, has got to take 3 strategic milestone tests. Each one is a pair of d6. If he throws a 1, he goes from amber to red and the day is lost. And he's thrown 3 of them. So the poor Germans have lost without getting really any of their reserves on the table, and the game comes to an end.
Thank you very much for your interest in what I do. There's more information at www.fightyourownbattles.co.uk. Like, subscribe for more, hit that notifications bell, and when there's more to come, you'll be the first to know.